Well, welcome everybody. It's good to be back. It's good to see some familiar faces in a much smaller room this time, but it's still kind of fun to have you all together again. I'm Sean Weiner. I'm going to be presenting once again as your Lux Chair for the next 5 sessions over the next 2 days. Wow.
Wow. I know as well. I'm like, okay, that's impressive.
This is Angie Larson from Savant, and John mixed up the agenda a little bit this year. We're going to be doing a roundtable discussion today. And a little exercise we put together for you. So hopefully you'll have some fun while we're doing it and share some ideas that way instead of just listening to me sit up here and talk for an hour or so. So the introduction that John prepared is this is the 10th anniversary of the Tech Home Builder Summit. Has anybody been here all 10 years?
Close.
I think there's a trophy for you somewhere. Congratulations.
Wow.
He mentioned that there've been this year, hang on a second, let me read this again. Combined, the summits are hosting 140 guests in Nashville, a 40% increase over last year, and nearly 100 sponsor companies. Guests represent over $160 billion in annual revenue, which is pretty impressive. I imagine a lot of those guys are in the next room as well, but $160 billion is a lot of dollars, so this is a pretty worthwhile event. I'll be your host for the next 2.5 days, which is exciting. And while we're here, we ask that you keep cell phone usage to a minimum. I know that there's emergencies that happen, but try and be here and be present. There's some good ideas and some great people that'll be presenting to you. I'm excited to share some of these things with you the next couple of days. So here we go. This session is about Xanadu. Oh, you already met us. This is a term that John came up with in his description. And the idea for today is instead of sitting up here and sharing with you all the great new products and services and ideas that are available in the luxury tech home and luxury tech space, we want you to start brainstorming a little bit about things that you'd like to see. So Angie, as a manufacturer, is probably going to listen pretty closely to what you have to say, see if we can come up with some ideas for things that might improve the experience for the end user, improve the experience for the builder, and even improve the experience for the integrator in some cases, make it a little bit easier for us to do our work. So the idea being, we're going to give you some guidelines and some tasks. We're going to let you break into, we'll make it 4 groups since there's 4 tables, that feels easy, and come up with a few ideas. So you're essentially going to design your own home. We're going to be working, at least the guidelines for the working model are the 5 senses. Anybody not know what the 5 senses are? Do I need to list them for you?
It's a quiz. Yeah.
If there's a 6th sense out there, that's impressive too. We can go that direction. But we want to create something that's really special and really unique. So you've all had, anybody not had experience working with integrators before? I'm pretty sure everyone here has, which is why you're at this conference to begin with. So take some of that experience at this table. Decide some ways that those things could be better. If you had bad audio experiences, bad video experiences, mediocre lighting experiences, weird shading anomalies, all those things, and think about ways that those things could become better in your projects, not just for you, but for your clients as well. We're going to make every one of you pick a presenter in the group once you introduce yourselves to each other. And once you're, I'm probably jumping ahead of my slides here. So you can introduce yourselves to each other if you haven't already done that at your tables. There'll be a team rep for each group that's going to take some notes and then come back and present your ideas to the group. I don't think there's a trophy or an award, but I'll talk to John about that later. You're going to give the project a name, and you're going to explain the experiences that you'd witness and experience inside that home. And the idea is we're going to bring you up here and sit where Angie and I are to present your ideas. And the reason we're doing that is you're going to be able to use this video later for your social media and your marketing efforts if you choose to do so. So if you've got some good ideas and some interesting spin on technology in the residential luxury space, this is a really good opportunity to share those ideas. So we wanted to kick it off and get you started with a few ideas. So you're not starting from scratch. These are just a few that I threw together. That was I should mention, all the images I used in this presentation were all AI generated, which was kind of cool. So that image right there, I asked AI to generate an image of a screen coating on a large panoramic window with a projected image on it. So think about that as maybe a dual purpose clear coating on a window where you can project an image on it and make that the TV at nighttime. Keep in mind, you got to be careful what you watch because the neighbors can probably see it too on the other side of the glass, but it's there. one of the other ideas for that was the seeing side. The hearing side is fabric paneled walls concealing beam-forming speakers. Anyone know what a beam-forming speaker is? Anybody been to the Sphere yet? So did you get a tour of the audio system at the Sphere while you were there?
No.
So behind those panels on those walls, I think there's 16,000 small speakers that are directed at the listening area. And they're so precise that you could actually move about 10 feet to one side or the other and hear a totally different audio program than the person that's 10 feet away from you. So there's some pretty remarkable audio technology out there. Touchscreen controls integrated into a bathroom mirror. Everybody's seen the TV in the mirror before. There's some mirrors with some touchscreen controls built into them too. Just some convenience features like that might be an interesting idea to pursue. The scent generators, if anybody comes up with some great smell ideas, I'll be very happy to hear them. That's the best I could come up with. And the last one, I wanted to inject a little bit of humor into it, but the Dinner Decider 3000 application, which would be kind of nice, right? So any use of technology, any gadgets, gizmos, unique programming applications, ways to take advantage of all these inputs that we get, all these data inputs we get from our clients' residents, to make some decisions on their behalf. So AI is certainly on the table. There'll be another session later this week about AI as well. So anything you can dream up. So I'm going to ask you to get creative and imaginative and come up with something other than in-ceiling speakers for us. So Andy's got a few ideas to share, I believe.
Yeah, just a few ideas. And just think about, as you're doing your kind of work groups and your exercise, different places and different areas throughout the home. I mean, John challenged us to think about the 5 senses. Also think about where you can put technology throughout the home that makes sense for, the homeowner and the experiences you're trying to design. So, extending the technology to different parts of the home where you may not always think about technology. Now, this is a great example of smart power and how you can build foundation for the home to have power and managing all the different sources of power and what that means for the future of construction and the builds that you're doing now. So, extend the technology. So I would say, as you challenge your mind and you go into these exercises, extend the technology to different places. I love the barely there ideas, right? And so, yes, we want to think about the 5 senses, but we also want the technology maybe to not be so in your face, right? And so even looking at something like ceiling fixtures where they're not 4-inch anymore. Now ceiling fixtures are 2-inch, 1-inch, right? As you start to look at the different types of fixture technologies that are out there, right? And that barely there technology. Or think about appliances in the kitchen and what can happen as you start to look at this side of smart appliances and what that really means, right? Is that a novelty, or are there really interesting things happening in that space that you need to be aware of? So think about that type of it's there, people are used to it being there, but it's there in a really inobtrusive way. Technology that can transform spaces. I think those are important things to think about as you're doing your awesome brainstorming. Sean's great example of something going from a window to a screen, right? What places in the home can you transform, right? I love the idea of different moods in a space or in a room, right? As you look at things like this and lighting and the impact that can have on these different spaces, right? Those are great things to think about. You talked about the bathroom. Love talking about the bathroom, the vanity mirror. Touchscreens are a great example, or things like lighting in the bathroom and how do we want to look as we're doing all of those activities, right, in the primary bath and those places. So I think those are great places to look at how do we transform the mood in different spaces throughout the home. So think about that as part of your exercise. I like to think about indoor, outdoor, right? Those are great things to think about from a technology perspective. You did a little bit of that with shades, or you do a little bit of that with the windows. You can do a little bit of that with moving doors and all those kinds of things, right? How do we open up these spaces? How do we seamlessly blend indoor and outdoor with great technology seamlessly? I think those are really fun things to think about as you think about your dream homes that you're all going to design for us. Different types of lighting. There's all kinds of cool lighting. I think, we tend to think about things like downlights. We tend to think about things like decorative lights. I think we maybe also are all thinking about outdoor lighting. Those are really great categories to think about in the lighting side. I think you're going to start to see things like entertainment lighting. And what does that mean? How do we have entertainment lighting? In the, one of the pictures you're looking at here, this is all highly responsive to the sound and the audio in the room. Does that change the experience for someone that is either gaming or watching TV? Does it change it in a good way, a bad way? Those are all things that we think about, but what kinds of lighting could you put, and think about what your homeowner would benefit from. So Shen, these are just a couple of the ideas that, to start seeding people for thoughts on their dream homes here.
Awesome. So any questions before we get started on this?
She's AI.
She's definitely AI generated, yes. How could you tell?
Love it.
Yeah, so use your experience. I mean, if you're working on a project, if you've worked on past projects, just share them with each other. I can guarantee that at these tables, you're going to figure out that somebody's already done something cool that you hadn't thought of before, and you can expand on those ideas. I do want to keep this somewhat based in reality, 1 foot in reality, maybe. I mean, if you want to go fantasy totally on this thing, that's fine too, but at least something that maybe we'd see in the next 5 to 10 years, not 50 to 60 years down the road, no Jetsons flying cars and that kind of stuff. But Angie and I are going to step down from here and kind of walk around and visit your tables and make sure that discussions are going okay and you're talking about what you're supposed to be talking about, and help out where we can. So if you want any questions, you guys can get started, introduce yourselves, and pick a team leader and get going. All right, everybody put down your pencils. Larry.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be doing this. I've talked a lot about minimalism. I think the stuff that we're building right now, the challenges we have is obviously integrating. Let's say appliances is a big thing. Client wants $150,000 worth of cabinets and killer countertops and Silestone hoods. And they don't want to see stainless steel anymore. They don't want to see appliances, but the difficulty in getting, panels to align and vent covers to cooperate, and then you start getting questions about activation. Walking in and being able to voice command various things. We talked about AI obviously is going to have to really change our perception of talking through Alexa or Siri. That's going to seem fairly barbaric, in probably 5 years. Them learning, I guess 10 years ago you drive in, the garage door comes up and lights the path to the kitchen. That seems fairly rudimentary now. When you drive in and it senses that it's you, not your wife, and your wife typically does this and maybe prompts you. They've talked about Jeeves or, the different services, kind of creepy, but, talked about, the car pulling into the garage. I don't know if this is real or not, but, you pull the car in, the battery drops out and it changes the battery like a DeWalt, where you're not, well, the paradigm now is you have to wait for it to charge, and we don't wait for our power tools to charge. And then we threw in, it'd be nice to have it cleaned as well. So you just ion charged garage, and all the dust just disappears.
Like a big MagSafe charger for a car.
Right. Yeah, right. Oh, I'm on video. Sorry. A lot of just the hiding the Vegas house, how they did the ceiling with all of the ventilation, the fire suppression, the lighting, and all of that within the cavities, keeping all of the surfaces clean, I think was part of our discussion. Voice activation, I guess that's all I got.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I literally just walked in late, didn't even know the topic, and also trying to read that if the camera can see it. But I'm good to ad lib. So our kind of top sense that the group was discussing was auto recognition of the individual, which was touched on by the first group, kind of tailored to the environment. Pull the car up, the correct lights turn on, the temperature goes down to the right level, the music turns on, things like that. As far as visual and eyes, we talked about the RGBW, the circadian rhythm light control, the different views that you're able to see, the natural light that you're able to see, so shade automation, things that will automatically change as you come in. There was discussion on a video wall in the home, so I missed that part. If anybody wants to elaborate on what that was. And then we talked about minimal and simplified controls. So we like all of our light controls to be automated, but we also like to have the human control where you can go push it if you can, right? So I think that's super important. I think a couple of us talked about it. I know in my household works that way. I love automation. My wife hates it. So you got to be able to manually control it, manually dim it. Discussing hearing, we talked about soundproofing, sound distribution through the house, automated mood noises, and things like nature, water, the beach, stuff like that. Voice distribution was an idea that Greg had, so you don't have to yell all the way across the house. You can just speak, and then it kind of carries to the other rooms. And I guess today some of the options to do that are like Alexa, you can drop into different rooms and stuff like that, but there's got to be some better ways to do that. And we talked about acoustics, run, that's not right. Moving on to smell, we talked about aromatherapy ideas, windows, doors. We also discussed like auto exhaust systems, which I think can continue to improve the options that we have there. And then, today we're using a lot of low VOCs, but, I think lack of smell is very important too in our construction. And so how do we control that with our auto exhausts and with our ventilation systems? Because we have a lot of customers who want to move in their home. They don't want to smell any of the off-gassing from the wood floors or any of the glues or things like that were used. So less is more, in my opinion, on smells. Taste, so that kind of ties into the smart appliances that we want to make sure we've got. Robotic chef, I missed that part of the conversation, but AI-generated diet and delivery. Is this auto clean, which kind of ties back to comfort. And kind of our last sense was touch. So tying back to your HVAC, you've got heated and cooled floors, shower floors, bathroom floors, things like that. AI shower control. I know we talked about Coleridge just came out with a new product. Looking forward to seeing that in the market and giving that a try. Smart toilets, we think those can continue to improve. Smart doors, smart door handles, so you don't have to reach and feel and touch, and they'll automatically open. And then like we touched on switches, auto vac could keep going a long ways. We think you could have like a little Roomba room, so they can just hide in the wall and come out. You don't have to see it, and then automatically discharge that into your trash bins. Those were ideas.
Drake Branda, Indianapolis. Thanks for being here, everybody. We had a difficult time, I think, kind of focusing on the dream, but we talked more on what would probably be centered around two categories: trends, and then kind of what we would see would be needed in those homes based on those trends. So some trends that we focused on: multi-generational housing. So these homes that we're seeing, 3, 4 potential generations living in the home. Clean energy, but more power. There's a huge push, especially in the United States right now, for clean energy, but more and more homes are using more and more power. So can't have both. How do we merge those two worlds? Longer design times, and then a really huge focus on health and wellness. So talked about like recovery rooms in some of these dream homes focused on technology with cold tanks and hyperbaric chambers, stuff like that. What we would need in Dream with these types of homes is a responsive but automated technology. Some of that's already been hit on with the first two groups, but that would look like, especially with multi-generational housing, you're not going to expect, I'll say the word elderly. That's probably the most politically correct word since I'm on video. But you're not going to expect them to be able to operate some of these technology pieces with voice, even voice technology. You're going to be hopefully automated for them and preset what they're going to need. And that also looks at HVAC. A lot of things, those things are being done now. You're looking at ranges of temperature, types of seasons, how much rays of sun is coming through the windows. All those things will impact what an HVAC system's supposed to be doing. We're actually doing a home show right now in Indianapolis, and one of the homes that's being highlighted as one of the favorites is a home that has actually a ton of technology, but you can't see it. The home is very warm, and all the people visiting the home show keep saying it's very usable, and it's a warm home, but in reality, there's tons of technology, even TVs hidden that will come out. So that's probably on the dream list. Multiple types of the same look and feel, but usability in the same home. So you're going to have, with that multi-generation, you're going to have the kids, especially my kids, that will work circles around me in terms of iPads, and they do things on my phone that I don't even know they could do. But you also got the multiple other people in the home that don't want that. So different parts of the home, especially a kid's zone, will have various different types of technology and look and feel in our dream home. And security, we talked about security for a while. That's going to look like your cameras, lighting, network, but we focused on a lot of the things that power independence that relates to those trends of clean energy, but more power. Power conditioning, so looking at clean power. A lot of times you're looking at technology that malfunctions because you're looking at spikes. I think we talked about utility companies can only do so much with that, but a lot of spikes in power lead to malfunction of technology. Lighting is now art. So we talked about lighting, how that looks and feels. One of these homes I just mentioned has just mood lighting in certain areas that will drive levels of melatonin up to calm your mind, so it becomes a reading area. Things like that will be automatic. And then just a few others. Yeah, I know. We're overachievers. Or I just wrote really big so I can get to a second page. We won't say that was the reason. Exactly. Bathrooms is already touched on. Power, it's now being run to every toilet in the home. Who thought that was going to happen? Showers, lighting, water temperature, automated with the water and sound and music and all these types of things. Multiple chargers in the home. We didn't talk about an interchangeable battery. That was a pretty good idea. But voice-activated control. We talked about this in two different aspects. Specific, being able to identify specific items, but also generic. There could be an automated piece with AI, like Sean mentioned when he sat down. Again, the integrators get to figure that one out. Good luck. But again, you're probably not too far away. But we also talked about how that could also potentially drive frustration on a buyer's level if those things malfunction or don't read the person's mindset correctly, what they're looking for that certain time of day or something like that could drive a level of frustration. So that's it.
Well, I think our group really would have wished to gone first. We are pretty novice in this area, but very interested. We're all in our group either starting to get into it, have been into it, but to get into price points now that people are requiring and asking a lot of questions. So our big thing was focused on number one, how do we educate our subcontractors that are putting these products in homes? And then it pulls through to the customer education piece. We're seeing real challenges with that piece. Is there a concierge type service after a customer closes to operate it? Somebody mentioned that they were in technology and their wife's not. I'm in the same situation, and it's tough when you're dealing with your client after they build a house and they're constantly trying how to figure out operate systems that were put in. So simplicity was the other one that we talked about. Just the need to keep it really simple for our customers. Future-proof. We have some folks that talked at the table that customers question, will it be outdated in a year? And the money I'm spending now is going to be a problem. And then simple retrofit technology was another one. Dropping things into homes that have been on remodels, and how do you do that? Some of the barriers that we see in all of our markets, and we're kind of spread across the country, is is cost to our customers as well as cost to us, passing that on, the complexity I mentioned earlier. Increased service sizes, we're seeing in infrastructure, that's a big issue. And then vendor availability in some of our markets. We just don't have the vendors that can execute this process. That's about it. Thank you.
You want to hop back up here? So yeah, this was, I'll stop walking around, but this was, I was concerned about you guys when we started this idea. I wasn't sure what we were going to get from people who just got off airplanes and came to an event like this, but I'm really impressed. We have a table of pragmatists on this end, on this end. You bracketed the dreamers in the middle here, which is kind of cool. There were some really great ideas, and the intent really was to get you excited about tech. You're here for an event that's all about technology and home building. You're all home builders. It's like, you know, sometimes pulling teeth getting home builders to have a conversation for 5 minutes about home technology, let alone spend 2.5, 3 days at a conference learning about these things. So it's clear that you're interested in the products and the technology. I really wanted to get you thinking and get you inspired to think about what could be. I know that there are problems with integrators. There are problems with manufacturers' products, not Savant, of course, but everybody else's products. There have been issues with technology integrators. I think I'm holding this like rapper style now. But there's been issues with integrators in the past. There's issues with products working with one another. There's issues with managing integrators, managing subcontractors, and integrators talking to electrical contractors talking to HVAC contractors. There's all sorts of things that you have to deal with, and your main focus is always going to be on efficiency and accuracy and making sure that the end product is what you want it to be. But I don't want that to take away from the experience. I don't want that to take away from the fact that what we offer as a technology industry really can enhance the home in ways that other products can't. The most beautiful granite countertop is going to sit there and look at you for the entire life of that home. Your technology is going to grow and move and change with you. It's a very different experience inside the house. So if you can't tell, I'm passionate about tech. I like that there was some excitement and enthusiasm in this room, and hopefully you'll be as passionate or close to about technology as I am. I'm looking forward to spending the next couple of days with you and introducing some new ideas. I'll do some more talking, and I'll have some great panelists to share some ideas. We talked about AI in all of these groups. There's a great AI session coming up this week. Some pretty cool stuff. And we're even going to go back old school and revisit audio at the end of the week, too, which sounds kind of boring, but I think one of those things that gets forgotten. I didn't hear a single person talk about a speaker in any of their presentations. But one of the coolest things we do in our houses is turn music on. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. What were your thoughts on the session today?
Well, I was going to say, maybe similarly, I think when you used to think about smart home and used to have these types of conversations, a lot of it was focused on entertainment. Okay. But like you said, we didn't hear a lot of that today, right? And so you kind of are seeing some of those changes even in the discussions that were happening at the table. I think entertainment is still a really important part of our world. And I really like the multi-generational comment here of what does that mean and how do we blend those multi-generations as we think about entertainment. But I think things have evolved and we're starting to see smart technology bleed into things like the infrastructure of the home, right? And that's now we're starting to talk about things like smarter power or what's the network infrastructure or so on. I mean, we can talk lighting, right? What things affect the infrastructure of the home and what does that mean from a technology space? So I think it's been a kind of interesting day for me. And I was taking notes fast on my phone just because I did think it was interesting to see the evolved thinking here of, okay, what does it mean to have Xanadu and the smart home? And I do think it includes entertainment, but I think it's so much more. And I think what's great is that everyone in this room saw the so much more of what the technology means for the home.
Yeah, and I would say one more thing. We've got about 5 minutes left. I'll leave you with one last thought. My advice is buckle up. There's going to be a lot of changes coming. I think that the manufacturers who are taking AI seriously are going to be the ones that win. The ones who are thinking it's a couple years down the road and we'll start to merge these things into our repertoire in the coming years are going to be left behind. Things are advancing at a much more rapid pace than ever before. What was the statistic from the conference we were just at? When ChatGPT was released, there were 10 million users on day one, and it took
was unbelievable.
It took Pinterest, I don't know, 5 years to reach
years,
that level.
right.
So, and look at how many times that's evolved. That was ChatGPT 3. We're on ChatGPT 4, 5, and 6. There are going to be advances in tech that are going to be mind-blowing because tech's going to start creating and implementing and improving itself, which is scary on a lot of levels too. But what it means is there's a lot of applications, not just for the technology inside the house, but think about how we service systems now. If you call a tech support line for help with a product in your home, right now you've got somebody behind a keyboard and a screen looking up your record and reading through all the other conversations you've had. What if AI does that? The person's still sitting at the desk. You're still talking to another human being. But when you say the TV in my guest bedroom didn't turn on the way that I wanted it to, the records that all say TV and guest bedroom are now in front of that person in front of that computer. So instead of sorting through long records and trying to figure out your issues, it's already suggesting solutions for the problem you called about. It just makes everything better. The phone in your pocket has made everything better. When's the last time you wrote a check? When's the last time you went to the bank to deposit a check? Right? When's the last time you sent an actual piece of mail to someone? All these things have happened slowly over time. We don't think about it because it's changing a little by little. It's like watching your kids grow up. One day they're 6 feet tall. You don't know how they got there, but every day you don't notice the incremental changes. And we're going through those now, but probably at a rate that's maybe 100 times faster than it was a year ago, 2 years ago. So I don't know if you want to touch on AI at all and what Savant's plans are for it, but I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch.
Oh yeah, and I think the changing market space is going to drive all of those kinds of things. And I think sometimes I like to think of it kind of simple. Like we used to sit in rooms like this, and we used to talk about the word control. Like somebody had to do something to control another thing, right? And I think those types of words are changing, right? And things, a lot of this group use the word automation, right? Or just started to think, hey, I want the space to adapt to what it should be, right? And I don't really want to think about it, right? I don't really want to engage with it, right? I just want this to be the state, right? So whether it is shades opening at a certain time of day, or whether it's the lighting being at the right spot every time you walk into the room, or whatever, there's all kinds of different things that you're starting to see AI and automation take place, and that's different. And I think the group, though, said some really interesting things, though. You got to mix that with still that manual ability to have a little bit of control. And so I think those are the kinds of right conversations that are happening right now, and I think it's an exciting time.
Yeah, nobody wants to drink from a fire hose. We want to do this thoughtfully and slowly and cautiously and with intent, right? But it's still coming, and it's coming fast, so be prepared. And I think you're ahead of your competitors just by being in this room today and by being this event this week. So, and I'll see you at the bar.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, all.